Okay, so welcome to today, and today we are going to do a mix of reclining poses and a few poses against the wall, basically because this is, there are three reasons for this. The first one being, so quite a few people, when they have their legs in front of them or their legs out and they come forward, they find it really challenging. And so it's nice to, to have another opportunity whereby you can get into the pose, but you don't have the constriction of, having to move forward. And the other issue is if you have any lower back issues, because we're going to be reclining most of the time, your back will be neutral. And so that will help to relieve your back. And then the last reason is also when we are doing some of these poses, there's a lot of potential stress on our knees, especially on our joints. And so when we are reclining, this is going to detract from the pressure. And then we can also get deeper into the pose. We can get a greater benefit from the pose. And as well, because we are reclining, often people find it a little bit more restorative than doing other poses, in the other way. Okay, so before I start, just to remind you that today we are going to do some poses against the wall. So if you have a wall close by, we're just going to do two poses there. The rest of them will be on the mat. And you will need 2 blocks and a belt. A belt is not obligatory, but it's possible that you might find it useful. And then a bolster. So if you don't have a bolster, you can take a blanket and wrap it up. Or you can take a pillow and use a pillow. And I think that's it. Okay, so let's get started. So come sitting on a bolster or a cushion or anything comfortable, and get yourself into a position where you feel that your back is extended, your spine is long, your shoulders are back, and your hands are resting on your knees. And today we're going to focus on something called breath awareness. And this is just the simplest breathing technique that we have in yoga and in meditation. And what we do is we simply close our eyes. If you want to, close your eyes. And we're just connecting with the breath. So just noticing, first of all, where your breath is. That's the first thing, because sometimes we'll notice the breath up here, or sometimes in the abdomen. The difference is that often when we have the breath up here, it's perhaps because we've been running to do something quickly. That is how the body deals with, to give us energy. We breathe more up here. But when we are going into the quieter, more relaxing breathing, we are breathing more in this area. So just for the first minute, just connecting with that breathing, just noticing where it is, where our breathing is. And now to help us with the awareness, if you just bring your hands over your navel area, and I'm just going to count with you. We're going to do 3 rounds, inhaling for 4, the abdomen comes out, and then exhaling for 4 and just feeling how the abdomen moves towards your spinal column. Okay, so before we start, just exhaling completely. And now inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. And now if you'd like to continue at your own pace, just do 2 more rounds. So as you inhale, feeling your abdomen expanding, filling with air. And then as you exhale, feel it bringing it towards your spinal column. And when you finish, just bring your hands onto your knees and just notice the effect of that breathing technique on your breathing and on your body. Okay, so slowly open your eyes and come to a position where you are lying on your back. Okay, so we're going to start with the reclining child's pose. So come lying on your back. And from here, it's really important, just make sure that you can't get your hand underneath your back, because we are trying to make sure that the back is neutral. You can also support your head with a pillow if you find that if your head is on the ground and it's feeling strange, you can put a pillow underneath your head and then bring your knees towards your chest. So either your knees are pressed against your chest, or if that's uncomfortable for you, you can open your knees. So either option is possible. So in this class, I will always give you at least 2 options. So what I'd like you to do is experiment which one feels more comfortable. Make sure that your bum isn't lifting up. We don't want that. We want to keep the back flat against the mat. So from here, either like this or like this. Okay, so we're going to be here for 5 minutes. So just basically move into the position, feel the way, first of all, the way your back feels, because this is a nice position of relaxation for your back. So just take the first few seconds just to acclimatize yourself to the pose. If you have your knees close, if you have your knees hugging into your chest, you will notice that the knees are pressing into your internal organs. And this makes this pose wonderful because by compressing the internal organs, we are helping with various things. This could be pain. Perhaps you have pain from digestion. Perhaps sometimes you have digestion problems. And if you are a woman, you could have menstrual pains. And so this can also really help, because compressing the internal organs like this is a very healthy and quick way to release pain. So all you need to do is stay in this position for a few minutes, and often that pain will go away. And if you have your legs open, so your knees open with the big toes touching, this is a nice, gentle opening of the hips. So wherever you are, just enjoy this feeling of relaxation. It's a very restorative pose. The child's pose is one of the key poses in any yoga practice. We can use it to start or to end a practice, or when we are in between poses, we use it just to cool down and to recover from a pose. So all the while just breathing and relaxing. Okay, so slowly bring your legs down. And if you just want to turn and have a look at me, I'm going to show you the pose that we're going to move into directly. And this is the reclining butterfly. So in the reclining butterfly, I'm going to provide you with two options. So option one would be to put your feet like this, put the feet together. I would suggest that you move your feet away from the groin area so they're not right in like this, so that you move your feet away from the groin area. You can also have two blocks ready, because some people, when they lie down, they will find this too much for the groin area. So you could also just try it initially with two blocks on either side. And then if you take a bolster, so this is the first option. I'm showing you the first option. This is the option to start with, and then the second option will be the next one to go on to, if this is okay for you. Okay, so you have the bolster behind you, and then slowly you just bring yourself back and you lie on the bolster with your arms stretched out. Okay, so that's option one. Okay, so you can try this one if you like. And then the option two would be just to basically lie down the same way without any supports. So if this is the first time you're doing it, so for example for Rosa, I would suggest that if you would like to start with the supports, but of course if you find the way I am lying accessible, then by all means do that. Just remember that as we are lying here, there's lots of pull of the gravity and the weight of our legs. So after a while, it could get quite uncomfortable here. There's quite a stretch. So you could, it could be nice for you to have your blocks underneath you, yeah? So underneath your knees. So, Janice, won't you change the camera angle? I can't see you. I can't see Janice. Yeah, thank you, Janice. Right. Okay, so coming down, if you would like, you can use the blocks on either side, and whichever position you have chosen, whether it's on the bolster or it's directly on the mat, you can have your arms by your sides, or you can have them on over your navel area. And this makes quite a nice opportunity for you to actually connect again with the breathing that we were doing at the beginning. And the reason we have the breathing focus at the beginning is because yin is a mindful practice. And so if we are distracted in the poses, which is very easy in yin, it's great to be able to bring the mind back and simply to focus on the breathing. So we could start again with the breathing technique, which would be inhaling for 4, and the abdomen fills with air, and exhaling for 4. And we can continue with this breathing technique throughout the practice, particularly whenever we feel the mind is wandering. And what happens when we breathe like this is that we are triggering the calmer nervous system, so the nervous system that starts when we are resting and digesting. It's a very healing system, and when we do that, it's very useful for helping to calm us down. So you should be starting to feel the body relaxing. Make sure your arms and your shoulders are also relaxed, because sometimes when we impose our parts of our body actually have tension without us realizing it. So sometimes just by focusing the attention there, we can relax that area. And then if you have your knees relaxing on 2 blocks, you may notice that this has made the experience of the butterfly much easier. And this is an example of how we use blocks in yin. We use blocks to support our bones so that the muscles are relaxed. And because the muscles are relaxed, we can get deeper into that strange thing we call connective tissue, which is a sort of network, a web that connects all the tissues within our body together. And it is not often stressed in the way that we are doing now. But by stressing those areas, we are helping to strengthen the joints and also lubricate them so we become more mobile and flexible. So from here, just very slowly straighten your legs. And this is what we call the rebound pose. And this is something that we often have, or almost always, between poses. And it gives you the opportunity to notice the effect of the pose. So if you feel a sense of relief or calmness, the feeling is perhaps a warm, tingling sensation or energy. That's often the feeling after the pose. But also be aware that sometimes you could feel perhaps a sense of vulnerability or perhaps a bit sad. And that is because during the day, if we are stressed or angry, sometimes those feelings are retained within our body. And when we stretch and release, we are also sometimes releasing that tension from the body, and sometimes it's accompanied by a strong emotional feeling. So if you ever feel that, don't worry about it. It's just a way for the body to get rid of negative energy. Okay, so from here, we're going to move to the next pose. So if you could come to the wall now, if you could move over to the wall, we're just going to be doing 2 poses against the wall. So I'm just going to show you how to do it. So come over to the wall. The most important thing when you are next to the wall, please make sure that your back is flat. So of course, you may need to have a pillow under your head just to make sure the back is flat. Don't allow your bum to come up because we're trying to keep the back flat. And if the bum is coming up, then we can actually hurt the lower back, so the back must be flat. If you feel that it is not flat, you just push yourself away from the wall until you find that correct position. So come to a position against the wall, and I'm just going to bring myself a bit quite close and put your feet wider than hip width, and then slowly bring them down until you get to a position where you feel a nice stretch in the groin area. And we're just going to stay here for 5 minutes once again. And this pose is called the happy baby, also the squat. And it is a way for us to slowly get into those muscles. Okay, so your feet, so basically the most important thing is to have your feet flat. So Simon, your feet flat against the wall, right, yeah. So your feet flat, that's fine, that's perfect. Making sure always that your bum isn't lifted, your bum is flat. So even if you have to bring your feet up the wall, the important thing is not to bring the feet down the maximum they can. Yeah, that's right. Good, good, good. Okay. So the focus is to have the feet flat against the wall and to feel a nice stretch in the groin muscles. Of course, when you come into this pose initially, it may not seem very challenging. You may not feel very much. But after a while, what you'll notice is that your legs start to feel quite heavy, and the stretch in this area will start to become more. So what I would advise you is just allow the legs to slide down the wall if that feels comfortable for you. If it feels too much, you can also, of course, put your hands supporting your knees. And then just relax here. Once again, connecting to your breath. So breathing in for 4 and exhaling for 4. And once again, you can also place your hands over your navel. Breathing in for 4. Exhaling for 4. So sometimes when we do poses that are new to us, we may find a certain tension in the body. And so the focus in yin is simply to relax and just notice what happens to the body. Sometimes the tension in that area of the body will diminish, but sometimes you have a lot of tension in that area because perhaps you've been doing a lot of exercise and your muscles are tense from the previous exercise. Perhaps you have an injury there, or perhaps because of the composition of your body, there's not a lot of flexibility in that area. So wherever you get to, the focus is always on observing sensations in the body and avoiding judging. The idea is not to judge, not to compare, to think, oh, I'm not as good as everybody else is. Because remember, yin is about your practice and the fact that everyone has a different bone structure. So nobody will do a pose that will look the same as someone else. The focus is, do I feel a stretch in the groin muscles, basically? That's the only concern for each pose that we do in yin. Do we feel the stretch in a certain area? So now very slowly, bringing the legs up the wall, and we're just going to relax here in this wonderful rebound position for a minute. So this position, not only is it a nice rebound position, but it's also, I would highly recommend this if you've been standing or sitting or running or walking a lot today. It's one of the best ways to get rid of, for example, if you find you have swelling in your legs or swelling in your feet, you suffer from bad circulation in your legs. This is a wonderful way to find relief from any pain or discomfort. And it's also a great way just to relax yourself before you go to bed, for example. Or even, I have some students who do this during office hours. They need to have a break, so they take 5 minutes and put their legs up against the wall. So it's a very versatile pose. Remember, the poses we do in yin don't have to be only done when we are doing a yin class. It's great if you could take these poses and use them in your everyday life, especially this one is a great one. Okay, so the next one, if you just turn your head and see if you can see me, this is where you could use a belt. So I'm just going to show you, I've taken a belt and I'm going to show you how you could use it. You don't have to use it like this. So you take the belt and you fasten it together and you tie your legs together like this. Okay? The reason I'm doing it like this is because if some people don't have the belt, they find that their legs spread out so much that it becomes painful for the groin area. So try this option. If you don't find it necessary, you can just get rid of the belt and allow your legs to open as far as is comfortable for you. If you are following me now and you find it's too painful here, then by all means grab the belt, fasten the belt, and use the belt. Okay, so Simon, maybe you want to try a belt, or if you're comfortable enough, then don't. Yeah, you okay? Okay, and okay, right. Okay, so let's get started. Once again, making sure that your back is flat, it's neutral, and your hands can come over the navel area and just relaxing. And you may notice as gravity sets in and your body becomes heavier, that your feet may slip down a little bit. As long as it's comfortable, just continue to stay there. If it becomes uncomfortable, of course, bring your legs up. And there are some people who find having their legs up against the wall, they find it strange, they find it uncomfortable, and they find the need to move out of the pose. If you have this sensation, then of course, as always, please listen to your body. If you feel this is weird, my body feels weird, then of course move out. But if you feel okay, then stay here in this position, focusing on your breath and focusing on the target area of this pose once again, which is the groin muscles, and some people can feel it in the hamstrings, which are the backs of the thighs. So of course, normally when we do this pose, we are in a seated position and we move forward. And for some people, it's not easy to feel the stretch because they have very tight hamstrings. And so by doing this against the wall, we are eliminating that problem, and we rarely have access now to that nice feeling of a stretch in the groin muscles. So I hope you're feeling that wherever you are. And just focusing on feeling of relaxation as well as the sensations in your body. Remember, as I mentioned before, if it does become uncomfortable, if there's too much of a stretch, just slowly close your legs a little bit until you get rid of any painful sensations, because in yin, pain is something we always have to listen out for. So pain is an indication that we need to shift or we need to move completely out of the pose. Other red flags are if you feel a burning sensation somewhere, or if your legs or whatever you're trying to stretch start to tremble. That's also a sign from the muscles that they are being overstretched. So you need to also move out then. So please just remember that when we are doing yin. And so now slowly take your hands under your knees and very slowly close your legs like a book. Bring your legs once again into the rebound pose, and we're just going to relax here, just noticing how it feels now. You could possibly feel quite a nice warm sensation between your legs where you've been stretching. And also in this position, we are giving a really nice stretch to the hamstrings. You might really not notice it very much, but as we have our legs up against the wall, it's a nice passive stretching of the hamstrings. So just noticing the feelings in those muscles. And now we are going to move away from the wall. We're going to come back to the mat. So move back to the mat, and we're going to experiment with a pose where we're going to be working on the outside hip. So the feeling could be from the outside hip actually right down to the knee. So if you just watch me, once again, this is a reclining pose. So come lying on your back, and I'm going to start with my with my right leg. So cross my right leg and place my foot across the knee. So this is option one. Once again, remember, I am tucking my tailbone in, my pelvis is tucked in, and there's no space below me. It's tucked in, and that makes sure that my abdomen is engaged and that my back is flat. So some people, when they're here, they feel that this is enough. They feel quite a nice stretch. If you say to me, oh, I don't feel anything, what you could do is you could bring your leg up towards you. You can either hold underneath your knee, or you can hold over your shin. And in this way, you're bringing your foot closer to your chest. If you feel pain in your knee, you can adjust the position of your foot. So your foot could be parallel, the shin can be parallel, or you can bring it further down to the groin. The idea is that you here are feeling a stretch, Let me just show you from this angle so you can see. So from here, you're feeling a stretch here in this muscle, this is called the gluteal muscle, and you could feel a stretch also going to the knee, right? So crossing over, first of all, starting like this. If there's a nice stretch there, then stay there. Otherwise, you can bring your knee up towards your chest and just experiment until you find a nice stretch in the outer, for me it would be my outer right hip. And once you are there, just stay there, and we're going to be here for 5 minutes. Of course, if you are feeling any uncomfortable sensation in your knee, then don't go into it aggressively. But if you are feeling nothing in your hip, then perhaps experiment with bringing your knee closer towards your chest so you can get the benefit of the pose, which is a nice stretch in the outside right hip. And after a time, you should be feeling that sensation going towards your knee as well. So it's all about experimenting and discovering. So once again, this is a pose that we often do on the mat, from a seated position. This is called the Swan. But often people find it's very uncomfortable to place the pelvis. And it's also quite strenuous for the knees. It can be quite uncomfortable for people's knees. So in this way, we can get the benefit of the pose without the strain to the knees. Once again, focusing on your breath. Inhaling for 4. Exhaling for 4. And if you have your knee raised, you may find that the breathing is not as easy as it was with your legs up against the wall. But that's a good thing. That's an interesting thing for you to observe and focus on. So we have 1 minute to go. So in the last minute, you can just notice how your body, how that area we were stretching has changed since we began. What sensations are there? Do you feel the stretch more intense? Do you feel more tension? Or do you feel that area more relaxed now? And now from here, just simply bring your legs down, and we're going to do a counter pose that we often do when we are seated, but we're just going to do it today from the lying down position. And basically what it is we just allow the legs very slowly to fall on one side and then on the other side, just very slowly. It's not a quick movement. So we're going to do that 3 times. So that's the second time. This is called windshield wipers. We usually do it when we are seated. But today, just to get the tension out of the hips, we're going to do it lying down. Okay, so that's the 3rd time and coming up. And now let's get ready for the other side. So now taking the left leg, crossing it over the right knee. Once again, checking in with your lower back, making sure it's flat, it's neutral. And then perhaps you're simply going to stay in this position. Otherwise, you can bring your knee up. So in my case, would be my right knee towards my chest and holding underneath the knee or on top of the knee. And just checking in with that breathing and that stretch. Okay, remember, if you feel any uncomfortable sensation in the knee, then adjust the position of your foot. So some people will bring it so the shin is parallel, the shin is at right angle to the knee, or else you could bring the foot right down so it's near the groin. I always encourage you to play around until you find the stretch that you need. You can also notice the difference. We are all asymmetrical. Our bodies are not the same on each side. This is because the bones are different. So if you had an X-ray of your body, you would see that the bones in your leg, in your pelvis, in your shoulders are not exactly the same on each side. And sometimes because of that, we find that one side is tighter perhaps than the other. If you listen to athletes or ballet dancers, for example, a lot of them will say, oh, that's my good side. And that is probably the side that is more flexible, that has more mobility. And we rarely notice it when we do yin because it's so slow that you rarely get the chance to notice that feeling. Notice the sensations. So relax your shoulders, relax your arms. And as you're lying here, just notice how your body has changed since you started the class. How relaxed you feel. So we have a minute to go. So just check in with your body with that nice stretch that you should be feeling in the in the left hip it will be now. The left hip, and you could also feel a sensation going up to your knee. Now slowly bringing the legs down, and we're just going to repeat that very slow movement. So bringing both feet to the mat with the knees still bent, and then very slowly allow your legs to fall to one side and then the other. Just going very slowly, and we're going to do this 3 times. So that's 1. Just doing this very slowly. 2. And last time. 3rd time. Okay, and then just hug your knees into your chest. Just give yourself a big hug. Roll yourself from side to side, perhaps, just to release any tension. And then if you'd like to rock up, and I'm just going to show you the last pose, which is one of my favorite poses. And this is called the reclining fish, or the supported fish. And for this, you either could use 2 blocks or you could use a bolster. So I'm going to show you with a bolster first. I prefer the blocks, but I'm going to show you with the bolster first. So place the bolster behind you, and make sure that when you lie down, because you're going to lie down on the bolster, your head is on the bolster, because if your head is hanging over for 5 minutes, it could be too much of a stretch for your neck. So lie down. If you find that your head is hanging over, then don't use that. So the legs stretched out, and bring yourself down. You can notice that my head is on the bolster, and you can have your arms by your sides, or you can have your arms above you. If you have your arms above you, it's quite a nice stretch, because you're getting a stretch from the top, from your toes, from your ankles, basically right up the whole front part of the body. So that's a really nice stretch. So that's option 1. If you don't have a bolster, you can use 2 blocks. And the 2 blocks, what I do is I create a T shape. So like this. So the long side is where I'm going to put my shoulder blades, and the short side is where I'm going to rest my head. So sometimes it takes a while to get the blocks in the right position. But once you do, you will feel the shoulder blades literally are hanging over the block, and it's very restorative. So from here, lying down, and Janice, I notice your legs are up. Your knees are up. Your knees should be, yeah, they should be relaxed down, yeah. Because it's different. It's not the supported bridge. This is a different pose. So this is lying down on the block. And once you get yourself into position, experiment a bit with your arms. Sometimes if the arms are by their sides, it's great. Sometimes if you have your hands, if you have your arms above your head and you feel a pinching sensation, then just move your arms around. Maybe your arms need to come down, because some people, they have a compression when they have their arms above their head. It's a pinching sensation. So all you need to do is just adjust your arms. So bring them down, just adjust them until you find that there's no pinching, or else simply bring them by your side. And once you've found that optimum position, then relax and enjoy this position, which is really a fantastic way to open the chest, to stretch the abdomen, and most of all, because we are in a position where the diaphragm, which is this muscle that is essential for breathing, it's essential to ensure that we are breathing efficiently, because the area of the diaphragm is between the upper and the lower part of the torso. It's just in between the ribs, really, in the middle between the ribs. If we have that area open, then it is easier for us to breathe more efficiently. Because often when we are sitting and we are compressing the diaphragm. So the diaphragm cannot breathe, cannot operate properly. This constricts our breath, and the result is that we are not breathing efficiently, and this can lead to you feeling stressed because you're not getting enough air, and it creates a vicious circle. And of course the position as well of the shoulder blades, which are relaxed over the block. This is also great because often when we are sitting, we are hunched, and those muscles between the shoulder blades are tight. And in this position, we are literally allowing them to relax. And so it's a great way to improve our posture. Just remind us of how important it is to do these type of poses every now and then. Particularly useful if you've had a day at the office and you feel that your shoulders or your neck or your back is very tense. You can just simply lie down and do this for 5 minutes, and you should feel a real sense of relief. Relief not just because of the relief for the muscles, but also just helping you to breathe in a more efficient way and helping you to be calm. So we have 1 minute to go. So enjoy this feeling of relaxation and calm. Now slowly push yourself out or off the blocks. And we're going to come lying down on the mat, just relaxing there. And in the rebound posture, just noticing all those sensations. Notice your shoulders. Should be feeling more relaxed, and the chest is open. And now if you are somewhere where it's cold, then grab a blanket, because we're going to move into the relaxation pose. So often when we're doing relaxation, it's nice to get comfortable with a blanket. But of course, if you feel warm enough, no problem. And you can also use a pillow if you feel the need to support your back, support your neck, sorry. So with the relaxation pose, basically lying down on the back, cover yourself with a blanket if you need to. And when we start off, we basically spend a few seconds just getting comfortable on the mat. If you like, you can also bend your knees. Some people like to bend their knees. You can also place a bolster underneath your knees, whichever feels comfortable for you. And we're going to be here for 5 minutes. So, as I said, just spend the next few seconds just getting into a comfortable position. The arms by your sides with the palms facing upwards. This is simply to ensure that you are relaxing the shoulder blades. And because we have been working a lot on just keeping the neutral back, you should feel your back considerably relaxed. And so I'm just going to guide you through a feeling of awareness starting from your toes and just moving slowly up the body so we can slowly ensure that all the different parts of the body are relaxing. So if you just start by moving your toes and then clench them, tighten them, and then relax. And now point your toes and slowly move, lift your right leg. Feel all the muscles in your leg engaged and slowly relax everything in the right leg and just feel all that area relaxing. And now the same with your left leg. Start by pointing your left toes and then slowly bringing that leg slightly off the ground and slowly bringing it down and relax. Feel the muscles slowly relaxing in those two areas. And now the same with the pelvis. Clench the muscles in your butt, clenching, feeling it very tight, and relax. And then slowly moving up the abdomen area to the chest. And then when we get to the arms, we're going to start first with the right arm. So move slowly down the inside of the forearm. And when you get to your fingers, clench your fingers of the right hand and then slowly bring your entire arm up, clenching all the muscles, and then slowly bring it down, allowing the fingers to open slowly. And let's move now to the left side. Once again, the attention moving down the inside of the arm until you get to the fingers. Slowly close your fingers into a fist. Lift your arm up, activating the muscles, and slowly bringing it down, slowly opening your fingers, and just feeling that area relax. And lastly, when we get to the neck, just bring your neck up a few inches, 2 seconds, and relax. And lastly, your attention to the muscles in your face. Close your eyes very tightly, close your mouth very tightly, purse your lips, and relax. And by now you should feel your brain as well has had time to relax. And just feel the entire body melting into the mat as all your muscles are relaxed. Okay, so let's start to wake up the body now. Move your fingers and toes. Make circles with your ankles and your wrists. Bring your legs together and then slowly bring your arms above your head. Give yourself a big stretch. Inhale and then exhale, bring your arms down. Click, click, bend your knees. Allow your knees to fall to one side and then push yourself into a seated position. Okay, so thank you very much everybody for joining me today. I hope you feel super relaxed and you enjoyed this exploration of the reclining poses. And now if you have any questions, I'll be very happy to answer them.